So Jagex is talking about bringing out another skill again, and this time they want the players to be involved to help make the skill something people will enjoy, and not just another checklist item for completionists. Quick disclaimer before I begin, a lot of what I'm going to talk about today is based on my opinion, and it's okay to have a different one from mine. I am hesitant to support this at this time, however. Let me explain. I'm not opposed to a new skill existing, especially if it's well thought out and designed. I don't really care about max players not being able to use their cape for a little while, nor do I want the game to stay in the past. However, many of the skills we currently have are bordering on near useless, and I would rather have them brought up to an acceptable level first. To further champion this cause, I want to go into detail for every skill currently in the game, ranking them based on their usefulness and explaining their problems. So this might be a bit of a long video. Starting off in S tier, we have all the combat skills and Slayer. Not much to say about these skills. They're in a very good place. A lot of major updates revolve around them, though, as of time of writing, they only hold 19 of the top 20 money-making methods according to the wiki. In A tier, we begin with Agility. Many people hate this skill, but it's hard to deny its benefits. We have shortcuts. Though some are fairly useless, quite a few come in handy. Graceful, probably the most used set in the entire game, is unlocked through Agility. The Hollowed Sepulchre is a very rewarding activity for those who have unlocked it, but the main perk of the skill is the reduced recharge time on Ren energy. Overall, Agility is in a good place, but I would like to see more activities like the Sepulchre in the future. Second in A tier is Thieving. Remember how Combat has 19 of the top 20 moneymakers? Well, Thieving has the last one. Though it may be one of the most click-intensive skills in the entire game, it's one of very few that comes even close to the money-making potential of PVM. It does have other activities such as Pyramid Plunder and Sorceress Garden, though the rewards are not that great in comparison, and I think that's where this skill is lacking. Next in A tier, we have Rune Crafting, no doubt everyone's favorite skill. All joking aside, out of every production skill in the game, Rune Crafting is by far the most useful. Runes are needed for magic and are consumable, so the demand is fairly high, and it's not going down anytime soon. Where the skill falls behind, though, is the rate at which you can actually craft them, especially for the lower tier runes like the elementals. It's almost never worth crafting your own air runes when you can cheaply buy as many as you'd like from a vendor. The final skill in A tier is Construction. The POH is one of the most versatile tools at the player's disposal. Teleports to nearly everywhere, Gilded Altar, Rejuvenation Pool, etc. Your house is incredibly useful for nearly every activity, and you also get stashes for clue scrolls. The main issue? Once you have everything, you no longer need to use the skill for anything. The only repeatable content that has rewards that scale with your level is Mahogany Homes, but the reward from that is just to help level construction, and it's not profitable anyways. Starting in B tier, we have Herbor. Herbor is an interesting case. It produces amazingly useful items, and would definitely be S tier if it were not for one fundamental flaw baked right into the skill. Here's a graph for production skills. The y-axis will represent the usefulness of a created item, and the x will represent the XP rates for making said items. Ideally, you would want everything to fall on this line. Herbor, however, follows this second line instead. What does this mean? It means that the most useful items the skill makes are also the highest XP per hour, so the demand for the already scarce resources is incredibly high, raising their prices. While on the other hand, the useful potions are being made by everyone, skyrocketing supply and tanking their value. Thankfully, the potions are consumable, so their value will never hit zero. But they will never be profitable to make. Only the steps leading up to them will be. Second in B tier is Cooking. Food will always be in high demand, and unlike Herbor, the raw materials are plentiful, and the best items are not the best XP per hour. Cooking also has stat boosting pies, which are very helpful in certain situations. The real problem with Cooking, though, is that most of its products are barely profitable. Yes, food is definitely useful, but is also extremely abundant. Next for B tier is Farming. Farming's main use is being a reliable source of herbs, which as I've stated earlier, are in high demand. Farming has some other useful utilities such as spirit trees and hispori, but a lot of the skill is pretty much useless. Allotments, flower, bush, and hops patches in particular. Other than some quests, there's almost no need for the items these produce. Finally for B tier, we have Hunter. Hunter has many activities that produce even more rewards. However, the only ones that are of any note are Chinchampas, Implings, Herbivore, and Birdhouses. Getting into C tier, we have Crafting. Crafting's main uses are making jewelry and budget range gear. One of the main problems with this is that the highest end jewelry is more of a PVM reward than a crafting one. Don't believe me? Just ask yourself. When you think of Zenyte jewelry, do you think, I need to get my crafting up to make that? Or do you think, I need to kill 800,000 monkeys to get that? As for the ranged gear, it used to be pretty good, but with the steady power creep building up over the years, it's been pushed down pretty far. On top of that, they nerfed it even more, really ensuring that the clue scroll variants were even more superior than they already were. Honestly, this is where it begins to feel like Jagex values clue scrolls and even singular items over entire skills in this game. Also in C tier is fishing. Fishing produces fish, which is used in some cooking. That's about it. Thankfully, the fastest XP doesn't produce the best items, otherwise fish would have literally zero value. The main issue with it is that other than just cooking fish in the standard way, they don't really have much use. In D tier, we have Fletching. Not really much to this one. Aside from making some budget range weapons in the magic shortbow and rune crossbow, this skill really only exists to attach feathers to things and assemble some PVM rewards. In E tier, which is honestly more like F+ tier, we have Woodcutting. I'll be honest, most of the logs gathered are borderline useless. Again, you could use the magic logs to make a magic shortbow, which would be useful until you get your hands on a real weapon, but mainly I think their best uses are probably birdhouses or Shades of Morton. They announced the forestry expansion to woodcutting, but the details are fairly vague at this point, and it really just seems like woodcutting exclusive random events. Unless they make logs truly useful, I don't see any additions to woodcutting making the skill less dead. Also in the F+ tier is smithing. Smithing is basically a worse version of crafting. The weapons and armor made aren't even budget, they're low level. Smithing produces a larger variety of items than any other skill other than maybe Slayer, and 99% of them are useless. Smithing is also graced with the privilege of assembling some PVM rewards, but its primary use is making budget ammo. Cannonballs, bolts, darts, and that's pretty much it. Smithing is meant to be the best skill at producing melee weapons and armor, and it's not. It's not a master of one trade. It's not even a jack of all trades. It's hardly a jack of one trade. Going into the true F tier, we have mining. Where to even begin with this one? It's probably my least favorite skill in the entire game. It's tediously slow to level, and it's basically pointless. Most of the ores are really just to feed the useless items smithing makes. Volcano exists, but the rewards are meh at best, and they hardly even scale with your level. Why even get a crystal axe or pick, when all they do is help you gather junk faster? The best item mining produces is amethyst, which is just more budget ammo. Finally, we have fire making, probably the most useless skill in the game. Everyone's first thought for it is probably Winter Tot, but your fire making level is irrelevant for Winter Tot. It doesn't make you any better at the activity or grant additional rewards. The only thing a higher level gets you is more fire making XP. The same applies for regular fires. Burning higher tier logs doesn't do anything to the fire itself, doesn't last longer, cook better, or anything. It just grants more XP in fire making. The skill only has two real uses. The first is hot air balloons, probably the least used transportation system in the entire game. And the second is Shades of Morton. Yes, a single minigame and an unused transportation system are the only things this skill is actually useful for. Like I said at the beginning, I'm not strictly opposed to a new skill being added to the game, but with the state of many of the current skills, I only see it causing even more neglect to the already dilapidated portions of the game. Jagex released their 4 design pillars they want to follow for a new skill, and I think they're a good idea, but they should apply them to the already existing skills first. I'm sure many people disagree with my thoughts on this, and that's okay. Anyways, thanks for watching, and have a nice day.